Hello and welcome to the NF Show, Nintendo Force Magazine's official video podcast. I'm your host for this week, Evan Campbell, and with me are two very special co-hosts. My first is the ever lovely Noah Ward.
Hey everybody!
And the second is someone you may know from YouTube with his great 3DS and Wii U videos, from Go Nintendo, from Nintendo World Report, and from NF Magazine itself, Daan Koopman.
I feel that Noah stole my enthusiasm. Hello everybody! I feel empty now.
Oh, well, get your enthusiasm.
That's my specialty, making people feel empty.
Oh, that's not true. Come on, guys. Get your enthusiasm up because we have so many great things to talk about on episode 40, Smashboard. We're going to be talking about what Sakurai and Nintendo could be revealing later this week in a special Nintendo Direct-esque Smash Brothers Wii U event, as well as some MPD sales numbers. Nintendo finally offering the ability to purchase digital games here, at least in North America. Stealth Incorporated 2, Fantasy Life, the Bayonetta 2 demo, and finally new 3DS impressions. It's a packed show, and guess what? We're going to wrap that all up with some fantastic feedback. So let's get started by talking with the biggest game of the holiday system, possibly across all three systems, you could argue, and that is Super Smash Brothers for Wii U. We have a new, I don't think they actually phrased it a direct, which got some people in a little bit of a tizzy. It's like a streaming event, at least here in North America, but it's going to feature...
It's not a direct. I will say that directly. The weird thing is that Europe actually used the direct artwork, like the rectangle and the triangle.
Yeah.
But it's like for the rest, nothing relating to a Nintendo Direct. It's basically called Super Smash Bros. For Wii U, 50 new things.
Yeah, 50 new things, which I believe are basically talking about what's different between the Wii U version and the 3DS version. We possibly...
No. I will say this, because I read the Japanese tweets from NCL, and they said they're all going to be new things.
That's what I'm saying. New things that differentiate it from the Wii U to the 3DS version.
But you said compare, so...
Okay. Well...
Correct your grammar, Evan.
I'm sorry. What I meant to say is what's different in the Wii U version compared to the 3DS version. Maybe I phrased that separately, but 50 new things is kind of the marketing tagline. And I think a couple of the biggest things may have possibly already been revealed by an Amazon listing here in North America, and that is a board game mode and the studio creator.
Yeah, is it a stage creator mode is what we're thinking it is?
Yeah, that was actually in Super Smash Bros. Brawl, so I think the studio creator isn't anything that's too surprising. It just seems like a cool feature that's returning and should be easier with the gamepad.
Right.
Definitely. I think being able to use a stylus and to precisely place things will be all the better, but I can only wonder if that list of 50 things has now been decreased by, I don't know, 5 or 20 because of Amazon.
The board game, I think, is going to be really interesting. Is this like a little Mario Party-esque mode within the game? Is this something that's going to heavily feature amiibo, or is this kind of like a entirely new single-player mode that kind of sits there next to like the classic arcade mode or like the Space Emissary? Obviously, there's not going to be something comparable to that in Smash Brothers for Wii U, but could this be sort of a replacement?
Yeah, I'm really hoping we get amiibo details this Thursday that make me feel I have more than one reason to buy an amiibo other than just wanting to hoard them. There's actually something truly compelling about them.
The only real thing that we also heard is that you can get orders from Master Hand and Crazy Hand, and I don't know if that's a separate mode or not, or if that's the exact mode they are thinking of with the whole board game thing.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and the Amazon listing kind of revealed a few new tidbits about that mode too, because there was kind of Sakurai teased that it looks like 2 new modes, how the menu split up. Like you could take challenges from Crazy Hand or Master Hand, although
the funny thing is we already knew the names because hackers actually went to files of Super Smash Bros. 3DS and found literally the announcer saying those modes.
Oh, cool. Well, I think there was some speculation before the Amazon listing though that came out, like, are you going to be able to play as Crazy Hand or Master Hand? But it sounds like no, you're going to be taking on challenges from them. So I'm sure they'll go into that. But yeah, it makes you wonder if Amazon kind of unveiled the three biggest surprises that'll be part of this Smash Wii U Nintendo Direct. But I'm sure it'll just be fun to finally see more of the game in action up and running.
I say yes and no. We know what they are, but we haven't seen them. So half of the surprise is actually still there.
Yeah, I'm like Noah. The board game could not only be a cool new addition that really separates it from the 3DS game and brings maybe a whole new appeal to Smash, but it also could give us our first really kind of killer aspect for the amiibo. If this like all comes in to create some cool experience, that would really help because I think the amiibo integration with Smash right now is honestly an afterthought in many respects, and partly that's because no one's gotten actual hands-on time with the amiibo in the game, but how they've just discussed it so far doesn't seem something that you would keep coming back to over and over again.
Well, they have
Something
been awfully silent since E3, really. So it's not really that surprising.
Yeah. Well, something that people can't stop playing apparently here in North America, and especially in regards to our fans, is Hyrule Warriors. And Nintendo of America was happily boasting that the game sold 190,000 copies in September in the United States alone. That's MPD sales and digital sales combined. But I feel like that is a very strong debut for just one territory here for Nintendo.
Yes, because I know that one of the bigger selling games in the Dynasty Warriors franchise sold 220,000 copies over 9 months, and this is a few weeks.
Wow, that is definitely impressive. I think it definitely is something for Nintendo to be proud of, and it's kind of an unexpected surprise. I'm only hoping that Bayonetta follows in the footsteps of Hyrule Warriors, and I really wish that the reviews for Bayonetta came out actually when the game was coming out versus a week in advance, where some of the hubbub and positive buzz has died down about that, and a game that people can't get until later this week.
Well, here's my thing. I went through a whole longer cycle with NOE giving the codes way out in advance. So for me, it was 4 previews and a review. And while I wish that the reviews were closer to launch at the same time, we kind of were forced to because the game was already out in Japan.
That's a good point to bring up. I'd say another good reason probably for it from Nintendo of America and Nintendo of Europe as well is you have so many other big games hitting, especially this week. I think Sunset Overdrive, if it doesn't hit later this week, it hits early next week. Yeah, and all of the other games, they're probably trying to kind of put their flag in the ground and be like, here's one of the best games out. We felt confident about reviews, but it's really cool just bringing up Bayonetta, this little side topic. There is actually a commercial in the United States for the game. It's something that we kind of thought wasn't going to happen, and we're kind of ribbing Nintendo for that. But in fact, they do have a commercial, and people, I believe, have seen it on, I think, Adult Swim, which seems like a really great place to market that game. But it's just really cool that Nintendo is putting some marketing muscle behind Bayonetta 2 for October.
Mm-hmm.
The other big numbers that Nintendo announced was the fact that the 3DS, and I say big, and I kind of saying that sarcastically a bit because they're boasting about 3DS selling 140,000 copies. And while that I guess you could call respectable, that if this was the DS days, the DS I don't think sold like lower than like 300,000 or 400,000 units in a month until maybe it's like the last couple of years. I mean, it was a juggernaut. So 140,000 units in September in the United States, not the best numbers. I'm going to be curious to see how the new 3DS kind of affects 3DS sales here in North America, because I think it honestly could put a dent in those, because if people hear about the new 3DS online, why would they go out there and get the old one here? But it's going to be the new 3DS, just in comparison, the new 3DS came out in Japan, and I think in a couple of days it sold like 230,000 units. It was obviously gave a big upswing to sales in Japan. I'm curious to see how 3DS sales in Europe and the United States translate over this holiday season with kind of this looming new 3DS release coming to those territories at some point.
The thing is, and that people mostly need to understand, is that we are just a subset of that big number. We are just who follow news constantly, and like the bigger scope of people will possibly never read gaming news sites.
Yeah. Well, my argument would be though that people are informed more than we give them credit for. I think there are a lot of parents out there that may buy it for their kids, but if you hear that there's a new handheld coming out, I think there's going to be a lot of confusion this holiday season for any parent that has heard about the new 3DS, because if they say, I want the new 3DS, and the retailer's like, oh, do you mean the 2DS that came out last year or the special edition Smash Brothers 3DS? And it's like, all I know is there's a new 3DS coming out. Is this the one? Like, if they've gotten any whiff of that online anywhere or gone to any of the big major sites they've seen or heard about that, I think it's going to cause a lot of issues. And I'm someone who always discounted the naming issues and everything like that in the past, but I think it has definitely become a problem for Nintendo, especially with retailers, because you see it almost every month. You see a Toys R Us ad or a Kmart ad or a Target ad here in North America where they like talk about Wii U or Wii, and they get those names confused and everything.
Yeah, you just remind me of a funny anecdote that I experienced a week ago. So I was in the city to pick up my boxes of Skylanders for Skylanders Trap Team because I'm amazingly like addicted to that franchise.
Yeah.
And surprisingly enough, another person in the store was a mother who picked up the Legendary Edition for his kid on Wii U, specifically the Wii U version.
Wow.
And at first, I was kind of like taken aback with that, until she said, "I want to order every single amiibo and the special bundle box in Europe with the Mario figurine."
Wow.
And I was like, "That the kids of that mother have the best parents ever in a phone too." My God. Because I never experienced that. Because most people experience like, "Is this an add-on for the Wii?" It's literally all I hear. And this is the first person I heard, like a parent no less, saying, super informed, "Yeah, I want to buy every single amiibo. I want to pre-order them now. Here's your money." It's like, wow.
Yeah, like you said, that's an informed parent, because we haven't even gotten to we're talking about the Bayonetta 2 commercial, we haven't even gotten to what Nintendo's going to do commercially for Amiibo, and you've got to believe there's going to be some crazy concept commercial out there to really push those and on all the cartoon shows to sell to kids and everything. So that's really cool.
Yeah.
Nintendo is also happy about Super Smash Brothers for Nintendo 3DS sales here in the United States. We kind of talked about in the past, I think it sold 2.1 or 2.8 million copies was kind of the worldwide figure. Here in the United States, it sold over 700,000 copies in 2 days, so it's really doing well in the United States specifically, and I'm sure across North America and Europe. And I bet once the Wii U comes out, we'll get a new updated number, but Smash Brothers just gets bigger and bigger. I'm really curious to see how it'll stack up against all the other franchise entries.
Yep.
One other cool thing to note before we get into what we're playing is the fact that, unfortunately for Don, this isn't available in Europe yet, or at least unless they've stealthily pushed it out there, which is actually what they did here in North America, is the fact that now you can go to Nintendo's website and buy games digitally. And what I mean by that is the fact that you can buy download codes for first-party games, or you can actually purchase a game on a website and have it start downloading on your 3DS or Wii U. So it's finally the first kind of revealing of Nintendo's web store eShop that I think Iwata mentioned possibly up to 3 years ago before the 3DS came out. And I think he talked about it would work with QR codes. That kind of just shows you how dated the concept was that QR codes were kind of the cutting edge technology that he was talking about how it was going to work at first. But no, you can finally, if there's a sale, and unfortunately this is just first party games, but think about it this way: when that Super Smash Brothers sale was going on for the Wii U and 3DS, I believe it was North America and Europe, you could just click a link and buy the game and have it sent to your game console instead of having to turn on that game console. And no, it is something that we have discussed over and over again and just been frustrated about. How excited were you to see that this was finally beginning to start for Nintendo?
Oh, it's great because now I don't have to necessarily schedule my free time around a download process that I have to babysit. I can do it in advance before I get home, or I can do it at other times when I may not necessarily be ready to just sit there in front of the console or the handheld. And I'm really excited about it. It's long overdue. I don't want to seem like I'm forgetting about how late that this is finally coming. But that said, I'm glad that it's coming. I don't like, though, resting on the what's the old Miyamoto chestnut about how a bad game's bad forever, but a delayed game's only delayed until it comes out and it can be good. Something like that. And I feel like a lot of stuff that Nintendo does, they kind of hide behind that cliche of like, well, better late than never, at least it's out, but not everything still works as great as you would hope, such as Miiverse on 3DS. So I'm glad they're doing it. It's great. I'm definitely going to use it, and I hope that this is the first of many new updates within the next year.
This is how I feel about it from kind of an outsider. I don't think this is the web eShop yet, by far. I mean, the functionality you automatically download was there from the get-go when the Wii U launched. The thing is, Nintendo barely used it and now only started using it in 2014.
Well, the big thing here is just the fact that we could purchase a game here on our computers right now and have it start downloading instead of having to take the time to boot up your Wii U and boot up the eShop, and that's a big score.
But you can browse a proper eShop like you could, for example, with Sony and their App Store.
Oh, yeah. Don't get me wrong. I don't think Noah and I are saying that this is a great solution yet. I think we're just excited that there's the first step that you can do it for some of them. I think I could speak for Noah here in saying that we both agree. There should have been a proper web eShop store where you can browse through every game and has the sales splashed and some great art design. And Noah's worked with designing websites. He redesigned Nintendojo, so he knows a lot about that. Definitely agree that there needs to be an eShop website as well as an eShop app for smartphones and tablets.
Oh yeah, definitely an app.
Where's the bloody Miiverse app? I mean, they announced that back at the Wii U launch. I mean, how hard is it to make a smartphone app?
Well, you got to remember too that Nintendo is, I believe, the only major publisher, I think I can say confidently, that hasn't released a companion app for a game. Even Mario Kart 8, we didn't get an app for that.
Ask the Pokemon Company. You have an entire subsidiary who does it constantly.
Yep. I don't try to explain things like this anymore. It doesn't make any sense. I just felt like Noah and I have given Nintendo a lot of grief for the lack of being able to purchase games on a website, and I'm just happy to see the first steps. I hope from here on out it continues to build.
Yeah, I think it will take another year.
Yeah, unfortunately it might. But you know what won't take another year, Don? Stealth Incorporated 2, because it's scheduled to come out in the next couple of weeks, and I, for one, am very excited about it, and you have been playing it early. Are you actually reviewing it for NF Magazine?
For NF Magazine, no. Wait, yes, I am. Yes, what I'm saying. Yes, I totally am. I'm reviewing all the Curve games for NF Magazine. All the 4 that are coming out. Yeah.
That's awesome. And you're going to be talking about...
Yeah, sorry.
Go ahead. No, you're going to be talking about Stealth Incorporated too, but you're referring other games that you can look forward to in the next issue of NF Magazine reviews from Don include Lone Survivor. You're going to have The Swapper. And then the third one would be, I'm blanking on it right now.
Thomas Was Alone.
Thomas Was Alone. Cool. And then Stealth. So those other games have released on other consoles, gotten fantastic reviews, I think, critically
Yeah,
across the
I
board.
can't wait to play Thomas Was Alone again. That's one of my favorite indie games. So I can't wait to see how that plays on Wii U.
But what's special about Stealth Incorporated 2 is it is a Wii U exclusive.
For now, that's what they're saying. For now.
We'll take it, okay? We'll just take it.
Yes, we'll do. Stealth Inc. 2. I don't know if you guys ever played the original.
Mm-mm.
No? So Stealth Inc. 1 was basically a touchscreen menu because it was first on Vita and PlayStation 3. You would go from selecting a chamber and go through a bunch of challenges and then move on to the next chamber.
Mm-hmm.
So it was kind of arcadey and kind of level to level based. They overhauled that tremendously with Stealth Inc. 2 because what connects these levels now together is like a Metroid-esque overworld.
Cool.
You've got our attention.
So the game opens with you actually taking those first steps in this overworld, and like the text in the game, well, it's very like Splinter Cell-esque text, so it moves on the background like specific instances where there's light, and then it scrolls the text on there. So it's very smart design there, and there it actually tells you from, oh, you need to do this or you need to do that, and then or like organically you learn like the abilities bit by bit, and then by the end of that first Metroid-esque section, you go on to the first chest chamber and another one and another one and another one, and then take another route through like this overworld. So there's a section of 4 levels, another bit from the overworld, and then another section of 4 levels. So it moves bit by bit further on through the story and through its gameplay. But the first couple of test chambers they kind of more ease you into the game. Like they're still challenging in their own right because there are some challenges to it, but it's more easier because it counts your time, your depths, and how quick you react really throughout the world. And those are like interconnected to online leaderboards. And getting on those online leaderboards is one thing. Staying up to the top there is another challenge altogether. And that is actually what keeps you playing the most, because once you unlock like a test chamber, you can go to the main menu and just play them again and again and again, however you want. But then seeing the scores, like it gives you kind of like an urge to do it again or play it again. And that's what I've found with other reviewers who have the game now as well, that I just want to beat their time so badly that I just keep sticking to the same few chest chambers all over again.
Right.
Yeah, the gameplay is very addicting in that regard, but moving on to like the harder levels, it becomes really insane. Like early on, you already get a whole level that's based around moving in shadow, because it says what it says on the tin, it's stealth. So there are shadows that come into play there, so you have to move those shadows to move away from objects so they can spot you. And like one very dickish thing, like puts like an hacking device middle in front of that section, and you have to make sure through another terminal that it really stops right in the middle so that it can hack it and you can move on. So it becomes kind of finicky and kind of tricky. And another stage, very early on, lets you play around with Steam, and that Steam will like confuse the security cameras everywhere, so they don't know where to look, so you can sneakily pass by. So there's little stuff like that, like an idea in every level that makes them really special.
Cool.
That's really cool. Noah, have you checked out any of the trailers for the game?
Yeah, I watched a trailer earlier this year for it, but I haven't looked at it recently. I remember when I saw it, because I hadn't played the first one, not knowing what it was about, but seeing the word stealth in it, I thought, oh, that might be kind of cool. And I remember being pleasantly surprised by the trailer and thinking, wow, this is actually something I might actually need to check out and purchase or something.
Yeah, they've released a couple of trailers now, kind of going over the design and the level layout and how it's related to the Metroidvania kind of subset of games, and it just looks absolutely fantastic. And I love the music that they've used throughout the trailers as well.
Yeah, it's kind of like eerie. You don't really know what's coming next, and that makes it really fit the theme really well.
Cool.
Sweet. So we can look for your review, but it sounds like you have very positive vibes throughout playing it.
I do. It's very good. I think I don't want to spoil the puzzles too much further because it kind of ruins the fun of the game.
Yeah,
Um, but knowing what I have played now, I think it's one of the better games that will come out this year for the eShop still.
that's
Wow,
awesome.
nice.
It's something to look forward to. I know in North America the game comes out October 30th. Do you know when it comes out in Europe?
But both at the same time. All the games from Curve are coming out on the same day.
Awesome. So a lot of good content from Curve. And if you want to get the final word, be sure to check out the next issue of NF Magazine to read Don's reviews. And if you want to know what I think in the next NF Magazine, well, I'm reviewing Fantasy Life and have finally gotten the download code for the North American version. I know it's been out in Europe for
Yay!
almost a month now. And I've gotten a couple of hours into it, and I believe I can talk all about those. Even though it's out in Europe, there are still embargo notes, but those will slowly lift over. Yes, slowly lift over the next couple of weeks. So I'm only in the first chapter or two.
Can I say one thing about embargo notes? I still have an embargo note for Disney Magical Castle, even though it's released in America in February.
The embargoes between Nintendo and Europe and Nintendo of America are always kind of goofy when brought together and compared. But Fantasy Life, my first impression, it's very talky. So I was playing late at night one night, and I was really excited to get in, and it's kind of like when you start Animal Crossing, all these characters are just like, text vomit, here you go, and you're just like, oh no, and don't let me sound too sour because the writing is absolutely fantastic. Like Treehouse just knocked it out of the park and you can tell. I always like when you can tell the writer had a lot of fun with it, and that kind of just shines through here. But it was kind of just like, oh my goodness, let me start playing here. Stop talking to me. But it's got a really cute art design. It really kind of gives you Dragon Quest IX, makes you think of Dragon Quest IX aesthetically, but it obviously gets a nice bump up being on the 3DS. And that's kind of how I would sum it up for Nintendo fans. It's almost like a mix between Dragon Quest IX and Animal Crossing. It's kind of bringing these things together, and I don't think that's surprising because Level 5 is sort of known for taking these hits from Nintendo and then offering a twist, whether it's Professor Layton. They basically looked at the brain training games and Brain Age and being like, how can we make this a more in-depth title? And that's kind of how Professor Layton was born. Or you now have Yokai Watch. I'm probably butchering that name, but that's like a Pokemon.
No, you're not. No, you're not. You're exactly saying it right.
Okay, Yokai Watch, and you've got Pokemon. It's kind of the Pokemon vibe, but level 5's on spin. And now we kind of have their Animal Crossing-like title that they've thrown in these RPG and action elements. And I've only gotten to try out the hunter job, so I've got my bow and arrow, and I made a female character with awesome pink hair named Lander, who goes out and hunts for the hunter master named Fern. So I've kind of played a little bit of those scenarios, and I'm kind of opening up. I finally found out like I can purchase a new house and expand my house, and I can do all of these cool customization options, and it's really cool to play. I'm slowly opening up everything, but I can see how it's addicting because you're literally getting all of these quests thrown at you. You have the main story quests, but there's these townspeople throwing quests at you too, and then you can do these like achievement type unlocks to upgrade your person. So just kind of the amount of stuff and ways you can go is very impressive, and almost a little overwhelming early on, but it's living up to my expectations so far, and I'm having a really enjoyable time with it.
It's exactly like I said when we talked about it for the last time. Every single word. But even we talked it even more in depth back then. But the only thing I will say now is, if you take on new jobs, you can skip the tutorial quest if you want to from now this point onward. So that saves some time.
Oh, really cool. That's really cool. I'm excited. The hunter class is kind of like a streamlined RPG where the fighting mechanics, just pressing the A button, you can use different like arrows, but I really am curious to try out like carpentry or the tailor job and see how they kind of make that exciting. But Noah, it seems to be very easy to go online, and I'm not trying to count you out here, Don, but Noah's kind of been back and forth on whether he's interested. But it seems really easy to set up to play online, and we can go on little fantasy life adventures together.
We should do that sometime.
Does that appeal to you at all, Noah?
Well, it sounds like you've already got a partner in crime there with Don.
You can play 3 people, though. We could all go adventuring together.
Yeah, I don't know. I like my current real-world fantasy life that I'm living in.
Awesome. Well, the other fantasy I finally took a stab at, based on your recommendations, Noah, I told you I was going to do my homework.
Yeah.
So I played the Bayonetta 2 demo.
Uh-huh.
And I loved it. It was great.
No, I was not expecting that.
Yes, I was definitely, I don't want to say apprehensive, but as someone who, and not because of what you said, but as someone...
Makes a habit of hating the games that I like.
No, that's not true either. Come on now.
You were very positive when we talked, because surprisingly enough, this is kind of a retwist of the last episode I was on, because I talked about Bayonetta 2 and Fantasy Life on the last episode I was on. So maybe I've given the bug pretty much to Evan now.
But for Bayonetta, the only reason that I was somewhat apprehensive is I've played other Platinum games in the past, and I don't think any Platinum game for me personally has ever lived up to the hype from someone else, whether it's whether it was Mad World or whether it was Vanquish, or most recently for me was Wonderful 101. So it's not like I haven't had experience with Platinum. Wonderful 101, I thought it was enjoyable, but I really thought it kind of got on my nerves in a lot of different ways. And if you love it, that's great. I'm not trying to say that you shouldn't love it, but for me, I wouldn't recommend it to someone, I don't think, for any Wii U owners. So I went into Bayonetta 2 kind of knowing I had those thoughts and knowing that people are just, first it's got these great reviews across the board, which isn't always true for all Platinum games, but people are super excited about it like they always are. Platinum brings out super fans, which is awesome. But the 10-minute demo for Bayonetta 2, I loved how simple it was. It was easy to get in, but you can immediately see the depth to the action and everything, and just it's got so much style and it's so much over-the-top action that it was just fantastic. And I'm definitely sold. I'm going to, and Noah, I found out that I can pick up the first Bayonetta on the eShop for $30. And then if I want to get Bayonetta 2, it'll be $30 to equal $60. So there is a way to go the opposite way. You don't have to buy Bayonetta 2 to get that deal. You can start with the first Bayonetta. So that was kind of the like 1-2 punch to me, and I was like, oh yeah, gonna get Bayonetta then. This is great.
Wow, that's cool. That's great.
They announced a similar scheme for Europe just today, like at the very last moment, where if you purchase like the full Bayonetta 2, you get like Bayonetta 1 for €10 or £10.
Yeah, that's one way you can go in North America too. I think it's $50 on the eShop for Bayonetta 2, and then you'll get if you have it, you'll get the first one for $10. I just want to go chronologically in order, even though I've heard the story's just kind of out there. But I want to see what the first one's like, and it's cheaper, so I can kind of see if how long is the first Bayonetta? Is it like a 10-hour experience? Is it 15 hours? Is it?
It's pretty long.
I should know this. I've played it recently. I can't even remember now. The only real fun I had. This game feels a bit dated because Bayonetta 2 feels way better.
Well, that's another reason. That might sound counterintuitive, but I feel like if Bayonetta 2 does have all these streamlined concepts, it'd be really hard to play that and then go back to the first one. And this way, I could like
Yeah,
play.
that's it's better to do that way. If you never have played Bayonetta 1, it's possibly better to play Bayonetta 1 first.
Okay, well that's now saying I'm gonna buy Bayonetta. My only concern is the fact that Wonderful 101 was a game that I wish just stopped at a certain point, and it was just like, oh no, twist ending again. Here we're gonna play more, and I was just like, oh my goodness. I get it. You think you're being every game maker out there, you having a second boss or whatever isn't surprising. Please don't act like it is because it's not. It is the oldest trick in the book, and I am so tired of it. Just make a good, concise conclusion, please.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, that's what we're playing. Let's get into a few new 3DS impressions before getting to your feedback. And before we started, I asked Dawn, which new 3DS did you buy? And without a hitch, she was like, oh, I bought both, which was surprising.
There they are, people in Videoland.
For people who had only seen the audio, I'm holding the boxes of these two right now, and you can clearly see the new Nintendo 3DS clearly wins in that regard. I mean, what a boring box this Excel one has, huh?
Yeah, it's very generic and pedestrian.
Yeah. It's too adult for my tastes. Too adult.
It is. It really is. It looks like it's marketed towards older folks, not fun-loving, youthful gamers. Which I'm not.
So this is the new Nintendo 3DS.
I love the colored buttons.
Me too. I love those color buttons a lot. And what
for people, again, people for the audio version, I'm showing the new Nintendo 3DS. That you're not out of the dark here. This is the faceplate that I'm currently using. This is all these Mario emblems on the back, and it's this beautiful Rosalina color. It has a very very textured feel to it, which I really like. Like every one of these faceplates has a slightly different texture to them, which is really cool. And that makes me kind of sad for the XL, because it has only this one texture that it will keep forever.
Yeah, it feels good in the shape and form it's in. It doesn't need to mix things up. It's older. It's more confident in its body. It just
Yeah. But here's my knock against the LL though, or the XL in the West. When you first hold it, it feels a bit slippery. Like the back,
okay.
The back slippery. You really have to put your hand.
I believe we may be having some technical difficulties with Don's connection.
Yes.
He is not cut out. Has he cut out for you, Evan?
Yes, he has. I was about to comment. So we'll see if we're able to get Don back on. But I believe he was talking about it's a little slippery, and I'm curious when he gets back on if the new 3DS XL is kind of like the original 3DS that kind of had the more metallic feel, but it was kind of a slippery console.
Yeah, it's just a really slick, glossy finish, is what I think he's getting at. And maybe that's also, well, I guess it makes me wish that they had the slide-on cases for the larger system, because it's a great incentive to make you think, this looks nice, but it's a little unsafe. I definitely have to get an accessory to remedy the problem that's here. And marketing. Yeah.
Yeah, it is a very interesting choice that they decided not to go with the switchable faceplates for both of them. And I'll be curious to see. We don't even know how Nintendo's going to kind of market this in Europe or North America, but I'm interested to see how they do that. But I'm kind of at a crossroads. I don't know if you are. I want the swappable faceplates, and I want the colored buttons, but I don't know if I can go down in screen size. I'm really used to my 3DS XL right now.
Yeah, I'm totally there with you, and I feel that the resolution game, or it's not a real resolution game, but just because things are squished down smaller, it might look a little bit sharper. That was my experience when I tried the GBA Micro, which that was a significant shrinking difference in size, and it worked really well for games that were pixel-based. But yeah, I can't give up not only the larger screens, but also the larger form factor. It's more comfortable if you have adult-sized hands than the smaller 3DS. I mean, I think the original 3DS, I did like it quite a bit, but I grew to really like the 3DS XL much more. Even though I didn't like the physical design of it, it was just more comfortable, and the increased screen size was just so appreciated. There are things occasionally here and there that are a little bit blurry, but overall the pros definitely outweigh the cons. But I'm also a big fan of customization and getting really cool designs. And the idea that these faceplates not only are different designs, but they're different textures that you hold in your hand because you have to hold the system in your hands all the time while you're playing, I just think is brilliant, and it makes me very envious of Don's situation where he has multiple faceplates, which I'm hoping he'll come back to talk about that a little bit more.
Yeah, definitely. And he might possibly be signing back on. We're kind of looking in the show notes, and I'll give him a minute or two before we jump into feedback. We apologize, but that's part of the fun of doing a live show. You never know what's going to happen.
Yes.
And the other thing that'll just be interesting to see, and I think we've kind of touched on this in the past as well, is there going to kind of be a new 3DS launch lineup when the systems finally come to North America and come to Europe as well? Will Xenoblade Chronicles for 3DS be ready? And that's kind of North America and Europe's idea for coming in. Like, not only do we want to launch the new console, but we actually want to have games ready for it to sell to people.
Yeah, having Xenoblade ready to launch alongside that, I don't know how much of a long shot that is, but it would be a great marketing move, no doubt, because that could definitely move systems. The idea of that huge epic RPG, provided that it makes the transformation to a small scale smooth as possible, but to have that great game and to be able to take it on the road, to play it again or to play it for the first time, that would be really phenomenal.
Yeah, definitely. Are you someone who's looking to pick up a new 3DS? I know you were unable to get to play it at the Tokyo Game Show, but I'm sure you've read up about it, gotten some early impressions from other people other than Don. Are you on board, or do you feel pretty happy with your 3DS XL right now?
Well, speaking back on my previous topic, I have customized my current 3DS. I really like it. It's got a great matte finish, so it doesn't slip out of my hands, and it's very colorful and fun. And I'm envious of a few things. I'm envious of the faster processor, the faster download times, because I do purchase a lot of stuff digitally now, and I would love to have that ability to speed things up a little bit more. And those faceplates are really cool. That's the problem, is that what I want the extra large system with the faceplates, and that currently doesn't exist. But maybe if we wait a while, like a year, that'll be next year's models. I don't know.
And just like magic, Don is back.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what happened. I'll tell you what happened. Literally, my PC restarted for some reason.
That'll happen.
Yeah,
but
Microsoft.
you were talking about the 3DS XL is slippery, and Noah and I were kind of speculating. Yep. Is it kind of like the original 3DS then, with a more metallic and kind of slippery outer feel?
Let me grab this one for a sec. Kind of, yeah. Well, it's more similar to the Smash Bros. XL. That's also a bit slippery like it, and you really have to put your hands around it. It's a bit getting used to. But going back to my impressions, because I was rudely interrupted. Thanks, computer. See here you have the C stick.
So no colored button, but you do have colored letters on the button.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you have colored letters on the XL. But I would not say love the C stick, but I like it. I really, really like it. I had to get used to that thing quite a bit, but I really like using it in Smash and using it for camera controls. But I'm not sure what else they're going to use it for.
Yeah, well, I'm guessing
Xenoblade.
Yeah, it'll be integral to Xenoblade. I wonder if we'll possibly see like Legend of Zelda Twilight Princess for 3DS or any other kind of GameCube Wii type titles that have.
But again, it will all be camera controls, and I'm saying besides camera controls for Monster Hunter and some Circuit Pro games, and Smash I have not seen further uses for it, so it's kind of waiting and see what will happen in that regard.
Yeah, I'm guessing it's mainly for camera control. I'm guessing Nintendo mainly put it for Monster Hunter, to be honest.
And for smash attacks. And I think the biggest thing that people possibly want to know, aside from how the system feels, which is very good. I like the colored buttons. They are more integrated to the systems. They're a bit more clickery. Is the 3D effect.
Oh yes, because it's got the face tracking now.
Yes, it does. And what's surprising about the 3D is that it actually works. Like, I played for a couple of hours. I played through Kirby Triple Deluxe again, and with Kirby Triple Deluxe, you have some movements where you have to do this, move around like left to left and right.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and the surprising part is that the camera keeps following you. It keeps following your face, so that 3D effect never loses.
That's really impressive because games with motion controls or tilt controls always ruin the illusion of the 3D graphics for that very reason. It's just like, oh man, I want to play Fluidity Spin Cycle and spin the system around, or other games that I've wanted to experiment with that and get the 3D effect the whole time, but it's not a very reasonable experience.
Oh yeah, and it'd be perfect for, I mean, this is a game that people don't bring up too often, but Face Raiders or Star Fox 64, if you're using kind of the AR tracking, people used to always kind of lament the fact that it was like, well, you want me to move the 3DS around, but the 3D has to be in a fixated position, and that's no longer the case, it sounds like.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the 3D really keeps track of your face, and it does it very impressively well. I think that the effect is a bit stronger on the XL than on the regular 3DS. Though the steadiness is on both, really. I never had any problems, which is kind of impressive in its own regard, because I had some doubts when I first tried it, but it just works. I flinged every 3D game on that I have, and it just works.
So, which one would you recommend? Because Noah and I were kind of talking about the new 3DS and the new 3DS XL. Which one would you have us pick? We both have 3DS XLs right now, and we're kind of worried about the decrease in screen size, but we love the customizable options of the faceplates. And it looks like we may not get an answer. We didn't stump Don there with anything, but I think he's continuing to have computer problems, which is unfortunate. So we're going to move along with some feedback. We've got so much great content, whether it's emails or whether it's YouTube comments to go through. Remember, you can always email us at show@nfmagazine.com or leave a comment right here on YouTube. But if Don comes back, we'll be sure to get back to that question. But for now, let's start with the emails, Noah.
That sounds great. Thank you very much, Evan. First up from Andy Lapp. Responding to Noah's question from last week's episode, I do have a Wii U, and I'm still deciding if I should buy that version of Smash Brothers. The soundtrack offer on Club Nintendo is the main reason for me to buy the Wii U version. I like the soundtrack, but it seems a little steep to buy it just because of the soundtrack. Does the soundtrack affect your purchase for the Wii U version, Noah and Evan? Evan?
Nope.
I would have to say probably not, but I don't know. Once I hear more of it, I might change my mind.
You might change your tune, Noah. Come on.
But that's great. And he continues, I am happy to hear all the release dates for upcoming games. I was a little surprised that the dates are earlier than what I expected, especially Super Smash Bros. For Wii U. I'm actually stoked about Captain Toad Treasure Tracker. The hidden platforms and gameplay look very polished and fun. I do admit, the narrator in the North American trailer does sound cheesy and unneeded.
No,
I realized what?
Sorry, can you give me your best Toad impression?
I don't really have a good Toad voice.
I'm gonna definitely do a terrible job here, but I'm gonna throw it out there because I feel like it's so fun to try to do Toad voices. That's my best.
What is it that he says when they stupefy? Whatever they say when they do the cherry, I feel like it says they're saying stupefy, which makes no sense to me.
Oh, little Harry Potter.
Yeah. Stupefy.
Yeah, tone voices are fun. I definitely recommend for viewers and listeners to try it at home. Sorry, proceed.
All right. Um, Anika said, I realized from Super Smash Bros. For 3DS that the home menu needs to be reloaded when you quit the game. It annoys me enough that it takes a while to show the menu from a game, but then waiting even longer for the home menu to reload feels like an eternity, and it bugs me a lot. Regarding the themes for 3DS, I'm very impressed with the Legend of Zelda Link Between Worlds theme. The music and the sound effects, especially the sound when you push the open button, are heartwarming and remind me of my experience with the game. I also like the NES Super Mario theme with the jumping Mario and the cute Lakitu on random areas of the wallpaper. It would have been nice to see the message boxes to have the same color schemes as the theme, and also the font that corresponds with the game UI. Sincerely, Andy Lapp.
That's really cool. I'm probably gonna buy a theme at some point. People seem to really enjoy them.
I think I need to as well, and if there was one that I was going to go for, it'd probably be Link Between Worlds, because that was a great game. I have fond memories of it, but I don't know, maybe if I wait long enough, a theme will come up that I really like, and I'll be like, oh, this is the one that I've been waiting for, and I'll forget that Zelda theme so quickly.
Oh, yeah, and I'm sure we're gonna start seeing it's happening in Japan already. There, if you pre-order a game, you'll get a theme with it or whatever. I'm sure we'll start seeing a lot of if you buy a certain game, you get a theme and stuff like that. So yeah, I'm kind of waiting, seeing if Nintendo will be generous this holiday season and kind of throw us a theme so I can get a little more of a feel for it. But I like the color option, so it's really cool.
Our next email is from Nintendo Dad. Hi guys, I know this is probably a long shot, but I'd like to hear your thoughts. Do you think there's any chance that the new 3DS system Nintendo bring that with the new 3DS system, Nintendo brings back Swap Note or something similar? I know many gamers tired of it quickly, but I had 20 to 30 friends that used it almost daily. Having the right group of friends made it one of the most enjoyable experiences on my 3DS. When it was shut down, I had over 250 hours invested.
Wow.
The biggest complaint I had was how slow it worked. I believe the faster processing of the new 3DS would solve that problem. If Nintendo created it so they could lock accounts, then the people that abuse it could be taken off instead of everyone. I realize we have Miiverse, but it's just not as good as SwapNote was. What do you think?
Unfortunately, Nintendo Dad, I'm going to say that it's not going to come back. The Miiverse is kind of the answer for SwapNote, and I am guessing that and with how SwapNote was kind of closed down on a bad note in Japan, I'm guessing the best we'll have is possibly swap note features making their way into Miiverse. Maybe being able to direct message a group of people that are on your friends list or whatever with cool themed message backgrounds, or maybe being able to do.
I am back, and I'm so angry.
It's okay.
We see you, Don.
We got you. We're going through a little feedback and get back to you, but I think the best option would probably be the swap note, seeing some of those kind of features move on through Miiverse, and maybe we'll get to a point where you can message people with the voice recordings and do all of that cool stuff.
Yeah, unfortunately, I'm also going to have to agree with Evan on his prognosis for the return of SwapNote. You bring up a really good point that it was slow in the past, and with the increased processor power, it could potentially be better. And maybe we're only going to be able to hope for a faster Miiverse, which that certainly could use a turbo boost as well. But I do miss SwapNote because it was just so novel and creative, and that we don't really have a true equivalent of that, or one-to-one equivalent of that in Miiverse, is a little bit sad.
Yeah.
So let's get back to our question to Don and see if his internet is feeling benevolent enough to give him enough time to answer our question. So Evan and I were wondering, we're debating between if we were to get a new 3DS. We really love the faceplates on the smaller 3DS, but we have 3DS XLs and we don't want to give up the larger screen size. What would you recommend, since you have hands-on experience with both of them?
I really like the smaller one. I think it's my favorite of the two, if I'm being really frank with you. I mean, I love the XL. I don't have any regrets buying it at all. Yeah. I think it's a lovely device. I think it has larger screens, but for the rest, I think it does nothing special. I don't have any hand cramps with the smaller one. For me, that feeling has disappeared with the faceplates you can put on it. Mm-hmm. And besides that, what else is there to say? I mean, It's a thing that you can easily put in your pocket, and next to that, the screens are way larger than the actual original 3DS, and still has kind of that round shape that the XL also has. In that regard, there are not many that big of a differences when you compare them. The only big difference really is that the XL has now a shiny cover, and for the rest, it has always been the same sort of device. It has also not really changed in screen size from the original 3DS XL. So in that regard, it's pretty much the new version of the XL. While the new 3DS does some stuff differently and does them actually really interestingly well. But if you have large hands and don't want to deal with it, there's nothing wrong with with an XL in your life. But for me personally, even with my big hands, I do give slightly the edge to the new 3DS because, I mean, look at these things.
Oh, he's gonna show off
The Tanuki brothers.
Oh, I love that.
The piggy from Monster Hunter.
Nice.
Another thing from Monster Hunter. Luigi.
Textured ones, aside from the one that you have right now, the Rosalina one?
I have a Veld one, but I don't have it right here in my office.
The Felt one I'm really excited about.
Isabelle.
Yeah, Isabelle.
That's really cute.
Yeah. That's what I like. I can make it my own system with the new themes together. Well, the XL just feels like an extension of the regular 3DS lineup with the enhancements of the new 3DS. Mm-hmm. So in that regard, this feels more like a new system, while this more feels like an upgrade.
Yeah, I can understand that.
But I both like them. Don't get me wrong. There's nothing wrong with either of them. If you feel that the XL is still the way to go for you, don't worry about it. There's nothing wrong with the text. There's nothing wrong. There's nothing wrong with that decision. But for me personally, from a standpoint from I want something new and shiny, I just like the XL.
Or new and felty.
Or new and felty. I do like the smaller one just slightly better.
All right. Maybe we'll get lucky and there'll be demo units of both in game stores here in North America, and we can just, get over our size issues, Evan.
Well, I guess my only concern with the new 3DS then would be the D-pad placement, because it was awful using the D-pad on the original 3DS, and it was a big improvement with the 3DS XL.
Yeah, that's a good point. Forgot about that.
I feel that they're both exactly in the same place. They're both in the middle at the left here.
Okay, so there's enough real estate then. So because on the old 3DS, it was in the bottom left corner and it was terrible to use.
Yeah, if you're looking at the video version, it's pretty much in the middle now.
Okay, so it feels pretty good.
Yeah.
Nice.
Awesome.
That's good.
And the ZL and ZR buttons feel you can much easier reach them with the smaller one. I feel.
Awesome. Well,
so
Don,
there you go.
Thanks so much for being able to make it back to give us that final
just
verdict.
long enough.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, I feel I'm good now, hopefully. But I don't know what happened with those first two. I don't even care about them anymore. But yeah, like I said, it does not matter. It really does not matter which one you choose. The three important things, like the three important pillars, are the 3D, the C-Stick, which is actually really lovely. Again, I really like that. And one thing I have not talked about, the web browser. The web browser has also been really improved in that thing.
Cool. Well, definitely we'll get back into feedback, but let us know out there which new 3DS you're thinking about buying. If you're thinking about buying one at all, you can always email us once again at show@nfmagazine.com, or you can leave a comment right here on YouTube. And I'm going to hand the reins back over to Noah so we can start back up with some more great emails.
Give me those reins. All right, from Blake. Great to have Noah back on the show to complete the dynamic duo once again. Thank you very much, Blake. I thought I'd offer some Smash Bros. 3DS impressions. First off, I do plan to also purchase the Wii U version on top of having the 3DS one. The reason for this is that my sister and brother have a 3DS but not a Wii U. We also all live and work in different states, so Smash on 3DS is the only way for us to somewhat relive the experience of playing Melee and Brawl together. The Wii U version will just be so that I can experience Smash in HD. Us siblings had a chance to visit each other recently and played Smash 3DS for hours on end. So much fun. Controls took some time to get used to, as I couldn't really settle on a favorite button layout. Graphically, the frame rate is buttery smooth and it looks fantastic with lots of little details only Sakurai could have added. Now that we're all back in our respective homes, I've played some on my own, but not as much as expected. The Smash experience is definitely best enjoyed with friends and family. I tried the online modes and had a better experience on average than with Brawl, but it could still be quite laggy, unfortunately. So ultimately, I'm not sure how much I'll play it on my own, but I'm glad it exists as a way to connect remotely with my family and relive the glory days of Smash, though voice chat would be nice, as we have to three-way call instead.
It's really cool though, just to hear about a Smash experience bringing family members back together. It's such a great party game.
Yeah.
Um,
That would definitely be a deciding factor for me. If I could play Smash with the people I used to play Smash with back in my college days, I would be all about that. But as life goes on, sometimes friends grow apart, and I have not talked to them. So Wii U HD it is. All right. Comments from the video from last week. That was a nice.
Can I say one thing really surreal? I'm looking at the live stream right now for my new 3DS XL.
Wow. You're living inside a paradox over there.
I will show you 1 second. I turned this off, but I was looking if this works because somebody asked me before on Twitter, and there you go. The live stream works. I see Evan.
Wow. Look at that.
That's pretty cool, and I guess that kind of goes on with what you said. The web browser is much improved because I'm doubting that would be possible on the current 3DS.
No, not at all. Not at all. This is all thanks to that CPU power.
Nice.
Awesome.
Right on. So maybe we'll start hearing people watching the show on 3DSs. That would be pretty cool, actually. Nice. Our first comment is from Benjamin A. He sent us. We have a lot of comments to go through, a lot of feedback. Thank you, everybody. I will try to be as judicious as possible in getting through these. Benjamin wrote, I'm very happy about the praise that Bayonetta 2 is receiving. What does bother me is the complaints about her portrayal. If she was being a victim of her sexuality, that would be one thing. However, her character owns it. I honestly think this is just something to complain about because this is on a Nintendo platform. Moving on to Hyrule Warriors. Now that game is fantastic. The story is good, but adventure mode is where the game shines. There's so much to do and unlock. The challenges go from easy to very challenging. I immediately purchased the Season Pass and I'm eagerly awaiting the release of the added content. Smash Bros. For 3DS is also much fun too. I have never been a fan of previous games in the title. I have never been a fan of previous games in the series because of the controller options. So many people praise the GameCube controller, but I do not. Even the Wii Classic controller did not suit me well for Brawl. The 3DS is not a perfect controller, but it works. I can't wait for the Wii U version because the gamepad and the Pro controllers for that system are wonderful. Wow, he's got the whole laundry list covered here. Captain Toad seems fantastic. I really think that the story is a completely different scenario than Mario Rescue Peach. What? The trailer shows that Toadette jumped on the star as if to try to take it back from the bird. Obviously, she's not the one being captured here. The star is. So, it is safe to assume she will be playable very early on, even though I want to play as her too. This game is called Captain Toad, not Captain Toadette. Oh, Toadette fans, I'm sure are getting the pitchforks and torches for you, Benjamin. Of course, she was a DLC playable character in the newest golf game, Year of the Toads. Oh, that's a good idea. My question to you is this, Benjamin's laying the gauntlet down. Out of the characters introduced in Mario Party-like games that have not had much attention otherwise, which would you like to see more of? This could be a standalone game focusing on their backstory or an additional playable character like Toadette. My choice would be Waluigi. Benjamin. All right, first let's hear Don. Don, what would be your favorite Mario Party / tennis / golf, whatever, side character to get their own game?
I'm gonna do like a very orthodox answer because she was kind of like in a main game, but that kind of aren't. I kind of feel that they should do something more original with Rosalina.
Hmm. That's an interesting suggestion because she already has some kernels of story development there, and
Yeah,
you could take that into some interesting gameplay directions to do kind of an atypical Mario game, just given her abilities and her backstory and what she could end up doing.
yeah.
How about you, Evan? What character would you like to see?
Well, this character wasn't introduced in a Mario Party like game. It was a mainline Super Mario title, but they're only in Mario Party like games now, and that is Birdo. I would like to see Birdo be a playable
Nice.
character in Yarn Yoshi, or I guess it's Yoshi's Woolly World now. I think it'd be really cool if that was a secondary playable character.
Well, Birdo was in a different game than a Mario game, and that was Captain Rainbow.
Oh yeah, that's right. Good memory. Good memory. For me, I would actually pick the Shy Guys because they're just so iconic, and to have some kind of maybe Kirby Mass Attack game where they swarm and you do different things with them, or maybe a Pikmin type game where they have different abilities based on their colors, or just something completely random that adds something to these creepy characters that have only one expression most of the time in any game, and just add something more to them. It could be mysterious or interesting or just kind of fun and weird because Shy Guys in themselves are very strange characters, and they're getting a little bit more of a spotlight given that they're like a bonus added.
Color option, yeah.
Yeah, if you buy the DLC season pass or whatever, the 2-pack for Mario Kart 8.
Shy Guys are
Did
awesome.
you know do you know the Japanese name for the Shy Guy?
I know that I've heard it before, but I do not currently remember it.
Hey ho, just like their sound. Hey ho.
Oh yeah, that would make sense. That's cool.
Shy Guys are awesome. Dry Bones is awesome. Hammer Brothers are awesome.
Hammer Brothers, yeah.
Those would all have cool
Yeah,
little
like
games.
When I think of the Hammer Brothers, I think of DDR Mario Mix
Hmm. I never played
because
the.
I didn't either.
they had the song at the beginning of the of Wario's roller coaster world, where they had this that you do like the overworld of Super Mario Bros. 3, but then in maraca form.
Sweet. That's kind of cool. That's kind of cool. I love Maraca games. I loved Samba de Amigo on the Dreamcast, and also when they re-released on Wii. Next comment. Weston wrote in week 2 of Smash. I've steadily improved my game this week and have reached 7.9 intensity with a few characters. I've finished All-Star mode with many characters, but there has been multiple unfair deaths near the end of the run, and as a result, I had to start over. I still really love the game, but I choose to ignore the online mode. I've only played a few matches, but there was a delay to my movements, and it made me feel disconnected from the actual match. I've never really been an online player, so I'm not really bothered by it. Weston.
Sweet. I mean, I'm excited to hear how the intensity increases during weeks 3, 4, and onward.
Yeah, I kind of want to hear what our other listeners and watchers are. What level intensity are you playing at? And we can just have a big intensity throwdown in the feedback section.
Oh, Noah and I are always up to intensity 10 here on the NF show, as everyone knows. We're always bringing it.
Yeah, bring it. All right. Old school
Uh,
1990s
uh,
wrote, I bought Tesla Grad and am very impressed. Like you mentioned, there is no spoken narrative. There are visual cues, but even they are subtle and can be easily unnoticed. The music and art style go very well together. The whole game is a very polished presentation. I would recommend this title to almost anyone, the only barrier being the price. I understand waiting for sales and everything, but if your gaming budget allows, buy it. Also, I've been playing Hyrule Warriors. It's hard to put down. The first DLC pack was released since the last show, and the amount of content added is amazing. 3 new playable characters, new story missions, a whole new adventure mode map, new weapons, and probably more I'm missing. There's so much to do in this game. It is going to be a serious contender for Game of the Year for me, ahead of Mario Kart 8. I know a lot of people are unsure about Nintendo diving into the deep end of the DLC pool, but trust me, they are swimming with the best of them. Old school 1990s.
well, it's not really hard to surpass Mario Kart 8.
Oh, burn.
Yeah, I still really love that game. Recently, I've been also really into the DLC and really got me back. And man, Link riding Epona is the best thing to use as a weapon. My God, that's the most glorious thing I've seen in a video game this year.
I love the new design of Link's motorcycle in Mario Kart 8 because it's different from the original image that they showed us. And now they have this very futuristic sci-fi-esque horse design for the motorcycle. It looks sweet. That's my opponent tangent. Next comment from the seventh experiment. I'm really excited for Captain Toad. I'm happy that the price for it will be lower, but it also makes me wonder how much content will be in the game.
More than 70 levels.
You think so, huh?
No, they said it in the trailer.
Okay. That's a quite literal answer there for you, seventh experiment. As for Amiibo, I have been struggling to decide which Amiibo I should pre-order. I'm leaning more towards Samus because I love how beautiful her Amiibo looks, and I think she'll be a nice fighter to train. As for Super Smash Bros. For Wii U, I wouldn't be surprised if it sold more than the 3DS version. Yes, many people who have a 3DS have the game, which is evident from those amazing sales numbers. However, I've heard many people say that they'll be getting both, and even more people saying how they'll be holding off until the Wii U version because, according to them, a game like Super Smash belongs on a home console. I, for one, will be getting both versions of the game. My reasons for getting both versions: I like how personal the 3DS is, and the fact that it's portable makes it even better. I also really love Smash Run. That's a first that I've heard that, which isn't available in the Wii U version. The Wii
I
U
also love
version,
Smash Run.
Oh, you do, Don? You're the person number two, fan number two of Smash Run.
Mm-hmm.
Continuing on from Seventh Experiment, I, for one, will be getting both versions of the game. My reasons for getting both versions were what I said earlier. I kind of had a scrolling issue. The Wii U version is there for me to enjoy the amazing graphics and play with friends who don't own either Nintendo systems. I'm looking forward to that greatly, so I know I will definitely be getting both versions. And also, to answer your question concerning Dynasty Warriors games, I have been a Dynasty Warriors fan since I was young, so it's easy for me to answer yes. I definitely buy a Dynasty Warriors game that came to 3DS or Wii U. If Hyrule Warriors never came to be a Dynasty Warrior game, never came to be, and a Dynasty Warrior game came to either 3DS or Wii U, I'd still buy it. The fact they combined Dynasty Warriors with Zelda just made it irresistible to me. And yesterday, I suddenly started having an urge to play my Harvest Moon: A New Beginning game for 3DS. I love Harvest Moon and have been a fan since I was 5 or 6. I'm curious, have you guys played any Harvest Moon games? And if so, what did you think? I know that Don has.
I haven't, but I've always been curious, and there's basically two Harvest Moon games coming this holiday season with Harvest Moon: The Lost Valley, which is a new developer but the same publisher, Natsume, while the Harvest Moon developers are making Story of Seasons, which is published by Xseed here in North America.
Mm-hmm.
I actually played some Stories of Seasons lately, so yes, I play a lot of Harvest Moon. I've been playing Stories of Seasons, mostly the Japanese version, which came out, I think, at the start of this year? Yeah, at the start of this year. And recently they updated that game to have an easy mode, so I also let my friends play some, and they kind of want to buy the English version now, so that's a good thing. Going to the previous part about Dynasty Warriors. There was actually a Dynasty Warriors game on 3DS, but it's only released in Japan.
That's a bummer.
Yeah, it's called Dynasty Warriors Versus, and it focuses on an online and local play.
Well, who knows? Maybe that game will get ported over if Hyrule Warriors continues to be successful for Nintendo. Could be a pleasant surprise.
Yeah, or maybe only a digital title. I mean, it works in this day and age.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, the final thing I need to address is the thing about sales. And many people have disagreed with me, but I will say it again. I still think that a 3DS version will sell more than the Wii U version.
Of Smash.
Yeah. And I will say this why. And it's not only the install base, but the reason why they made a 3DS version in the first place is that the console market in Japan is not doing as hot.
Yeah.
And having that third pillar kind of fall down on them also means that it leaves America and Europe to kind of pick up the slack, and they only have the half of the Wii U's install base right now. So I'm sure that some will pick it up before the holiday season alongside the Wii U, but it is kind of a risky endeavor because with the 3DS version now out there, they kind of put up their hands in the air saying from, look, we realize that the handheld market is still okay in Japan, so we're making a 3DS version.
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely did see plenty of people playing 3DS Smash while I was over in Japan last month. And even at the Tokyo Game Show, there was a very significant presence of mobile game developers there, just as big as traditional console game developers that you know very well, such as Electronic Arts and Bandai Namco and Capcom. And just there are a lot. Mobile gaming and handheld gaming in general, just as we've known, is so much stronger there and so prevalent, and it feels like a sea change is occurring in terms of where people want to play their games in Japan, and who knows how much that will cross over here. As far as playing Harvest Moon games, the funny confession that I have is I've always found those games to seem really appealing, and I kind of lump them together with Animal Crossing in that they're these simulation type games where you have some repetitive tasks, but Harvest Moon seemed to always have a little bit more depth, a little bit more complexity, a little bit more of a story to it. And I thought, well, if I'm going to play one of these games, I should do Harvest Moon because like I build a farm and I get a spouse and things happen, and it's kind of cool that you have this little life that you create that seems a little less repetitive.
Would I say
here we are. I played Animal Crossing and not Harvest Moon.
Would I say a fantasy life?
I'm not getting fantasy life. Nope. All right, Kisaki Project is our last comment in the feedback marathon that we have going on here. That Star Wars game would have sold millions had the Motion Plus lightsaber duels been competent. I listened to the same interview. It was really depressing. I guess since the prequels ruined Star Wars, I'd forgotten how much I enjoyed Star Wars games back in the 1990s. I think this game could have been a huge hit. It's tragic it never came out. And if there's anybody out there who is out of the loop of what Kisaki Project is referring to, it is the unreleased Rogue Squadron trilogy compilation game that never came to Wii.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, Nintendo is desperate for Wii U support. Kisaki Project continues. Buy this, up-res it, and release it for a cheaper price, or bundle it with the Wii Remote Plus. That's Kisaki Project's solution, at least. Continuing on, I also think Captain Toad might be the justification the Wii U gamepad needs. I think the game may be a sleeper hit. Oh, and I'm replaying Kirby's Epic Yarn with my girlfriend. She doesn't really play games, so it works for her. Fantastic presentation and baby easy. I have a friend at work who taunts me. He's like, "Why do you have?" He once said to me, and he didn't say this super sincerely. Don't take offense. I certainly did. I knew he was just taunting me. It's like I'm like, I have a Wii U, and I like Mario games stuff. He's like, I don't play baby games. I'm like, baby games? Mario games are not baby games, and he will still taunt me about that. And then lo and behold, he's the same person who's like, Bayonetta 2's been getting really good reviews. I think maybe I should get a Wii U. I'm like, because it's not a baby game. Anyways, Kisaki Project continues. I forgot how great, albeit short, Kirby's Epic Yarn is. I'm really excited for Yoshi's Woolly World. Also, that game looks good on HGTV. I never got Return to Dreamland. Did either of you? Is it worth picking up to play co-op with an inexperienced gamer? Are the visuals enthralling? Do you think it would hold up now?
I haven't played Return to Dreamland.
Nope. Yeah, I have not. I have not either.
I have played Return to Dreamland.
And
I think it's worth picking up to play co-op with an inexperienced gamer. I do think that the visuals are very nice on the Wii, and I think it holds up.
Check. Well, there you go. Kisaki Project, you have an official recommendation from the completely competent Don, who's played almost every game out there on Nintendo machines, and therefore has a very good.
Well, I played every first party game.
Oh, okay. Well,
that's still impressive.
Yeah, I think that's a lot of games.
Still very impressive. Well, thank you so much, Noah, for taking us through that fantastic feedback. Once more, you can email us at show@nfmagazine.com, or you can leave a comment right here on our YouTube page. That is youtube.com/NF Magazine. And with that, that brings us to our conclusion. We want to thank you so much for joining us this week for episode 40 Smashboard. Don't forget to subscribe to us either on iTunes or YouTube. And there's also an NF Show playlist. And I believe we're back up on iTunes now.
We are back up on iTunes. All issues are resolved.
Sweet. So we're all good to go there. We're sorry about the hiccups that you may have experienced over the past couple of weeks. You can review us. You can leave us a terrible review if you're angry about those hiccups. But we hope you just leave us an honest review so we can always make this show better and build off what we've got going so far. Finally, if you're not tired of listening to us and you want to follow us all the time, you can follow us 24/7 on Twitter. Noah is at This Is Noah. I am at Evan Campbell. And Don is at NintenDaan. And finally, NF Magazine is at Nintendo Force, where you can get all of your NF Magazine news and information. You can also be sure to subscribe to NF Magazine at NintendoForceMagazine.com or NFMagazine.com. And with that, I want to thank my two very special co-hosts for joining me, Noah and Don.
I apologize for dropping 2 times. I wish I could have talked more about the new 3DS.
Well, you'll be back on, I'm sure, in the future and have more time to talk about that. I also want to say, Don, thank you for staying up, or getting up really early to be on the show, given that you're around the world communicating with us internationally.
Here's the thing. If I talk to people about video games, I care more about that than sleep, because this is the best thing I do. No, I'm not even joking. This is me being serious for a minute. Talking about video games is the one thing that I do more than most of the world. It has been my hobby since I've been 2. So being here is more important to me than having a couple of hours sleep just before work, because I know I can get sleep later, but the talk never dies.
That's really awesome. Thank you so much for joining us. We always love having you, Don, and we'll definitely have to have you on in the next month or 2, especially with so many games coming out, and we know that you'll have fresh impressions of them all. It is always...
Well, that season will start soon again. I am expecting Ultimate NES Remix anytime soon, because that's coming out in Europe at the start of November, and America a month later, so we're getting that first. So that's kind of around the corner now.
Cool. So much that we'll be talking about in the future, so definitely keep it tuned here. And thank you once again so much, everyone, for joining us for episode 40 of the NF Show. Goodbye.
Bye-bye.